Have you ever gotten a family text that starts with, "Hey," and your stomach drops? Not because you don't love them, because you already know you're about to be asked to fix something with your money. If you're tired of being the default bill payer, rescuer, co signer, and financial therapist, today's episode is for you. We're talking money boundaries, how to stop being the family CFO without any guilt, without drama, and without going broke trying to keep everybody else afloat. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So they might be ready
What's happening, my portfolio builders? You're locked into another episode of the Do Different Better show, where we break down wealth, wisdom, and money moves for everyday people. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, founder of Social Impact Now and Connective Institute, and the managing partner of the Integrated Capital Fund. So glad to have you with me today. I'm going to start with a question that's going to feel a little maybe too accurate or triggering. How many of you have a family member text you, "Hey," and your heart or your stomach just dropped immediately before you read anything else? And it's really not because you don't love them or care for them. And it's not because you're a cold, heartless human, but it's because you already know what's actually going to be coming next. It's not gonna be, "Hey, how are you?" Or, "Hey," it's usually, "Hey, can you help me with?" And suddenly you're doing all the mental math that you really didn't schedule. You're thinking about, "What's in my checking? What's gonna come out? Can I move money? If I say no, will they explode? If I say yes, will I resent them?" If you know that feeling, welcome. You just might be the family CFO. And today's episode is called Money Boundaries Stop Being the Family CFO. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being sustainable and getting super, super clear about where you are and what you might need long term. Because some of y'all are funding emergencies that aren't necessarily emergencies, and they certainly aren't your emergencies. You're actually funding patterns. And then you're shocked that you can't seem to build wealth for yourself. Now, let me define what family CFO actually means, because it's more than just sending money to a family member. And here's what it looks like. Being the family CFO means you're the actual person who, and here's a list of things, and you might have one or more, you're covering the gap when someone else comes short. You front money until payday, but payday never seems to really arrive. You're often the one asked to co sign just this once. Or you get asked to pay the bill directly because I don't trust myself with cash. You're often handling the emotional labor of everybody else's financial anxiety, or you become the default fixer in every single financial mess. But you don't just give money, you manage risk and you're absorbing the consequences, and you act as the stabilization fund for other grown adults. And here's the key phrase: role capture. Role capture is when you get assigned a role in your family system, often without your consent, and often it happens without you even knowing. Let me know if any of these sound familiar. You're the responsible one. You're the one who made it. You are the one who seems to be able to figure things out. You didn't really apply for this job, you kind of inherited it. Now let's talk about the costs, because this is the part that most people actually avoid, but it is really important. They'll talk about family values all day, but they won't talk about the impact on your financial system. Here are some of the hidden costs of being the family CEO. They tend to come into what I call three categories. And the first category is the actual financial costs. Every dollar you send out unplanned is a dollar that doesn't build your buffer, become your brick house emergency fund. And we've talked about buffers and brick houses. They're not used to pay down your debt or actually have money to get to make investments and build your long-term optionality. And the real cost is not just the dollar. It's the compounding that you could earn that you're actually losing out on. And here's an example. If you send $300 a month to a family member to cover their gaps, that's $3,600 a year. Over 10 years, that's $36,000, not including what could have been invested in what you might have earned off of the investment. I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm saying that to wake you up to the math because your generosity is being financed by your future. The second cost is emotional. Being the family CFO often comes with a set of resentment, anxiety, hypervigilance, a feeling that you're never feeling like you're caught up. And it's also tension with your partner if you have one, and it's also tension with yourself even if you don't have a partner. You can't seem to relax because you're waiting for the next request or the next emergency or the next whatever it is that's going to cost you. The third cost is what I call identity cost. This one is much more sneaky. When you become the responsible one, you become the one who can't have a bad month. You can't be human. You have to be the infrastructure for this everything that's coming. And your wealth capacity, your ability to hold complexity gets overloaded. Let me tie this into the wealth capacity really briefly because it's really relevant here. Wealth capacity, as we've talked about before, is when your life can't hold the load or you're at a specific place in your wealth capacity on what kind of load you can carry. Wealth capacity isn't just about how much you earn, it's about how much complexity your life can hold without actually breaking the whole entire system. Some of you are high capacity people, you're leaders, you're caretakers, you're business owners, and you already have a full mental load. Then you add being the family CFO on top of all of that. Think of each one of those as a weight. So you're managing your own bills, your own goals, and your own stress. And on top of that, everyone else's crisis cycles. Your financial system can't hold that forever. And your nervous system, and inherently, whether you've talked about it or not, also already knows that. And that's why maybe you get irritated at something that has nothing to do with actually what's going on. That's why you might avoid certain calls. That's why you say yes and then feel mad at yourself because you said yes when you know deep down it's not something you can handle. Now, why does this keep happening? Why is it so hard to stop? That's a really fair question. So, I want to name some of the drivers that may contribute to this. Driver number one, guilt and loyalty. Particularly if you're first gen, if you've come from scarcity, if you're the one who made it, the narrative becomes, well, if you have it and they don't, then I'm obligated. I have to do this. But here's the truth. Helping once is generosity. Helping indefinitely without a system is self erasure, right? You're saving someone else and not yourself, right? Driver number two, conflict avoidance. Some of you pay to keep peace. You pay because it's easier than having an argument. You pay because you don't want to be called selfish. You pay because you don't want to trigger family tension. That's not really generosity. That's a fee. It's a conflict avoidance fee that you're paying every single time you do that. Driver number three, the emergency label. Families use the word emergency like it's seasoning. They sprinkle it on everything and everything becomes urgent. But is that really the case? Because if the emergency happens every single month, it's not really an emergency. It's actually a pattern. Now, driver number four, you don't have a policy. Most people don't have boundaries. Maybe you've been taught not to have boundaries, either set or unset. They have moods, and moods are negotiable. If you don't have a policy, you will decide in the moment, under pressure, and with guilt. And that actually creates inconsistency, which creates more requests because people see you doing it, and that becomes the norm. Because people feel people can feel when you're not on solid ground. Now, I want you to give yourself a quick diagnostic because you need to know if you're actually the family CFO or if you can just help occasionally. Now, here's the diagnostic. And I want you to answer yes or no in your head while you're driving, while you're sitting, lying down. Answer yes or no to these questions. Do you send money you didn't plan to send at least once a month? Do you feel anxiety or irritation when certain family members call or text you? Have you ever delayed saving or paying a debt or investing because you were helping someone else? Do you have a support or giving line item, or is it just you're freestyling it? Are you funding repeated patterns like late rent, utilities, car repair, short on groceries for the same person? If you said yes to two or more, congratulations, you're in the CFO role. Now, here's the reframe I want you to hold on to for the rest of this podcast. It's not that you can't be generous, but your generosity needs governance because without governance, you don't have generosity. You actually have leakage. And we all know what leakage can lead to if you listen to my other episodes. So I really want you to think about installing a boundary system. And so we're going to talk about coming up a giving budget. We're going to talk about a rescue rule. We're going to talk about a decision cadence, plus scripts so you stop negotiating in real time. Because the goal is not to become a cold hearted, heartless person. The goal is really to be consistent and that one, you can start to build the long term sustainability that you need to have in your life to take care of your family, but also be able to help other family members, but in a way that also works for you financially and doesn't devastate you or put you in a financial crisis. Because if you're helping them, they're probably not in a position to help you. So it's just a really good idea for us to dig in and figure out, and I'm going to help you with that. You're listening to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and we're just not reclaiming wealth. We're reclaiming ways to build it. So I want you to stay with me, and I will see you after the break. And don't forget to catch us on Instagram at Do Better with Elaine and on my YouTube channel at Do Different Better. You can also listen to us on Sundays on AM 950.
Yeah. So they might be willing to pay.
Welcome back to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen. And in segment number one, I gave you a quick diagnostic to see whether or not you have become the family CFO. I asked you a couple of questions, and if you said yes to any of them, you're more than likely the emergency fund for everyone else in your family. And once again, this isn't about necessarily wanting to say no to everybody. It's that you have a clear understanding and a boundary of what you actually have the capacity to do to support your family without it being detrimental to your not only current situation financially, but also your future financial situation and your hopes and dreams and investments that you're trying to accomplish. Okay. So now that we've talked about that, now what I'm going to provide for you is we're going to give you a boundary system, right? And it's going to be chock full. So lock in, get your favorite note taking device. If you're listening to this, make sure you bookmark it so you can come back to it and sit and listen to it later if you're driving in the car right now or riding a bike or taking a walk. But for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to get into how do you stop winging it, right? That's what we're going to do. So, if you've now figured out that you are the family CFO, you probably have a very good heart, but weak guardrails. So, today, guess what? Congratulations, you're going to get some guardrails. And here's the system. And I'm going to keep it really super simple on purpose because I want you to be able to actually execute this. It's what I call the three-part boundary system. Number one is a giving budget. Number two is a rescue rule. And number three is a decision cadence. We're going to cover all of those things. These three things will change your life because they will remove the need to decide in a guilt spiral or from a place of like emotional dysregulation. So, first up is the giving budget. A giving budget is a monthly amount you can give confidently without destabilizing your household. I'm going to say that one more time because this is the line that frees people. Giving is what you can give without harming your own sustainability or stability. Okay. Now, what you can do if you skip savings, not what you can do if you put it on credit, and not what you can do if it makes you anxious. A giving budget can be $25 a month. It could be $250 a month. The amount is not the point. The point is that it's defined. You have a clear outline of what you're going to do. And I recommend separating this into two different categories. The first category is what I call gifts. That means that there's no repayment expected. And the second is loans. And if you're going to decide to do loans at all. Now, let me be clear. Oftentimes, somebody might ask me for a loan, but in my mind, I've categorized it as a gift. We all know that family member, that friend, whomever it is, they say they're borrowing money, but they never seem to pay it back. So while they might say, I am asking for a loan, I want to pay you back. In my mind, I have already decided it's a gift. Now, if they pay me back, that's a bonus. But if you're anything like me, that may rarely happen to you. I know it's rarely happened to me. I've had plenty of family members who've borrowed money from me and I've never seen one penny back. And that's okay because I've written it off as a gift when I gave it to them. Now, I didn't tell them that this was a gift. You can certainly do that if you want to, but I let them believe that they were actually loaning me, that I was loaning them the money. So if they wanted to pay me back, if they paid me back, great. I love that because now what I do is I take that money and I go and invest it, right? I pay it forward to myself for lending it to them. But if they don't, because I've categorized it in my mind and on my spreadsheet or my budget that it's a gift, I now am no longer psychologically expecting that money to come back to me. My personal professional recommendation for most people, loans to families are messy. They damage relationships and repayment becomes emotional warfare. And who needs extra stress added onto their life and looking crazy at the next family function? We don't need that. We don't need that smoke. Okay. So if you give, consider making it a gift. Then you're not waiting, you're not tracking, and you're not resenting the person for not doing what they said they were going to do. But, and if you cannot afford to gift it, you cannot afford to loan it. That's just a hard and fast rule. That's not really harsh. That's actually arithmetic. It's just, this is a math problem, right? If you can't afford to give it away, then you can't afford to loan it either. Because again, the chances are you're probably not going to get paid back. So you need to be able to know that once that money is gone, it's gone and it's not coming back. Now, if it does come back, as I mentioned before, great, happy day. Now take that money and put it into a savings account because you already discounted the money anyway. So put it into an investment vehicle, right? Now, how do you pick the giving budget amount? That's a great question. Here's a simple approach, and it's not the only approach, but I'm going to use a simple approach using the buffer framework. If your buffer is not funded, meaning you don't have at least a starter cushion for yourself, your giving budget should be very small or possibly zero, at least temporarily. If you do have a buffer and you're building towards your brick house, right, then you can set a giving budget that doesn't necessarily slow you down. The goal is your household stability first, then generosity. Because if you collapse, you're not going to be able to be in a position to help anybody anymore. Number two, the rescue rule. This is your non negotiable. Your I don't do this anymore. Here are the three rules to choose from, your three rescue rules that you can choose from. Pick one that fits your life. Rescue rule A: I do not give money if it creates instability in my household. Rescue rule B: I do not fund repeated patterns. And rescue rule C: I don't cosign ever, period. You might adopt all three, or you might be new to this and your heart is racing and your hands are getting sweaty, just even thinking about the fact that you might have to put a money boundary around your life to help protect you from you. That's okay. Then I would definitely suggest just starting with one of these rules and not all three. But you can work your way up. Say, for this year, for the rest of 2026, I'm going to adopt rule A or I'm going to adopt rule B, right? Rule C probably doesn't happen that often. So I don't start with that one just because it's easy and you know it's never going to happen this year, right? Maybe start with rule A or B. Okay. These rescue rules protect your wealth capacity. They keep you from becoming a full time stabilizer for other grown adults. All right. Number three is decision cadence. This is the part that people often miss. Your family requests feel urgent because you're deciding in real time. You're not giving yourself the space to really think about what's actually being asked of you. Decision cadent means you decide on a schedule. Here's an example. I decide support on Sundays during my weekly rest, or I decide support on the first of the month. Maybe it's after you've looked at your bills, maybe it's after you've paid your bills, and you get to really see in real time what's left over and whether or not you can honor that request. What this does is two things. The first is it removes the pressure to respond immediately, and it gives you consistency. And consistency makes your boundary credible. It allows you to stand behind it and it allows to you to send up a signal for others to recognize it and for they know that you're just not saying this willy-nilly, but that you have actually created a very tight boundary about how you're going to make these decisions. Now, this system doesn't come without scripts. All right. You know, I'm not going to leave you hanging because I realize this might be very, very new to many of you. Maybe many of you have done this in the past and have fallen away from it and you're getting back into it. That's okay. So you need the word to go along with the action. So I'm going to give you the words that are going to go along with your newfound boundary. Because when you're tired or you're triggered, you default to old patterns. So having a script allows you to be able to like, okay, where's my script? Let me pull it out. You might want to even type it as a note in your phone. So I'm giving you the scripts that you can use word for word, or use these word for word for right now. And then you can cultivate your own language in a way that feels comfortable for you. But for now, I want you to just lean into the process. Now, I'm going to give you some scripts that are short, calm, but non negotiable. And you'll notice that these are going to be super, super simple because long explanations now start to invite negotiation and you're already in a heightened sense of awareness. So having to negotiate in that state is not going to be beneficial for you. Now, here is script number one, and it's called the pause. The pause, the script goes, let me check my budget and I'll get back to you tomorrow or next week or Saturday but at least give yourself a minimum of 24 hours. That gives you an opportunity maybe to talk to your partner before you even look at your budget, right? It's just something that you can say. You can actually check your budget, which I also recommend, but it's also just giving you a pause to sit with it and see how are you feeling about this request? Do you feel some kind of way about the request? Do you feel some kind of way about the person who's making the request? It gives you a chance to unpack that and it gives you an opportunity to possibly unpack it with your partner or a good friend or somebody outside of yourself to get some objectivity. The great thing about this is you're not saying no, right? You're just putting a pause. You're stopping a panic decision from having to happen, feeling like you have to make it happen and make a decision in the moment when you're being asked, whether it's a text message, a phone call, an email, or in person, right? Hey, I'm going to give you an answer in 24 hours, or I'm going to think about this. I need to check my budget and I'll get back to you in 24, 48, 72, whatever the time frame may be. If you know you're not getting paid for a week, hey, I really can't, I'll deal with this. I'll give you an answer. Can it wait XYZ, right? So there's lots of options, but the simplest one is I need to check my budget and I'll get back to you. Okay. Script number 2. This is what I call the giving budget. And that is the script is I have a set support budget each month. I can do X. So if they push, your response is that's what I can do. Pure, simple, easy, right? And what that allows them to do is they've got to figure out the rest. You're actually saying, I can help you, but I can only help you this much, right? It's kind of like if you're giving somebody a ride of like, hey, I can't take you all the way to Minneapolis, but I can take you halfway because that's on my way. I was going that direction anyway. This is very similar, but it's only for your money. Now, script number 3. This is the no loan script, right? The no loan script says, I'm not lending money right now. If I can help, it would have to be as a gift, right? And you might even leave off that second sentence, right? What this does is it prevents the repayment drama of them avoiding you and never actually paying you back and you expecting and saying to them like, "Oh, did you get paid? Did you get your tax refund back?" Whatever the situation may be. Script number 4, no co-signing. And here's your script. I don't co-sign for anyone anymore, right? Or you can just say, I don't co-sign for anyone. And that's a hard no. No is a whole sentence with a period on the end. It's no apology and it's no story. Script number 5, help with the plan, not the payment. I can't cover that, but I can help you make a plan. I can help you figure this out. This protects your wallet while preserving that you actually do care for the person. Script number 6, resources instead of cash. Your script is I'm not able to send money, but I can help you find some resources. And here's script number 7. This is what I call the vendor direct, if you so choose. Here it goes. I can't give cash, but I can pay the bill directly one time. Send me the information. This reduces misuse while still helping, but I would definitely make sure that you use this one very sparingly. Again, you don't want to be the default. Script number 8 is the repeat pattern boundary. It says, I'm not able to keep helping with the same issue. I'm happy to help you set a longer term solution. Now, I'm going to address something. Some of you will use these scripts once and then fold when someone gets angry. I hear you. And you're going to be new to this. So you might fall down a couple of times before you actually start to get confident and actually stand behind it. So also don't beat yourself up if you do it a couple of times and then you get caught in a bad situation or unaware and you fall back into your pattern. Guess what? The next time you can get back on the horse and get back to your boundary. So let's talk about why boundaries actually even fail. Using the wealth identity very, very lightly, right? So for my folks who are builders, they fail because you try to build a whole financial improvement program for your relatives. And that's just shifting the work to something else other than cash. You become their unpaid coach, bookkeeper, and therapist, and then you start to burn out. For my builders, your boundary fixes, you're not building a system for them, you're building a boundary for you, right? Next, my caretakers. I love my caretakers. You feel guilt and override the rule because you can't tolerate their discomfort or their displeasure with you, right? The caretaker boundary fixes you can be loving and still be firm. Their emotions are not invoices to you, okay? And to my maximizers, you over explain, you debate, you provide logic, and then they negotiate you down and you just get worn out. So here's your fix short answers. There's no theater, no courtroom, and no negotiations. And if you have to, just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And for my minimalist strategist, you avoid the conversation until it becomes an explosion, and then you regret how you said it. Here's your fix: use scripts early. Small, firm no's prevent big, messy blowups. Don't wait. And here's the line: your boundary fails where your identity tries to be loved. And that's understandable. Okay. But before we move on into the last part of our conversation, which is the pushback, I'm going to do this quick setup for you. And this is your family CFO policy. So, once again, get out your note app. I want you to write 3 things down, whether it's written down or you put in your note app. And these are 5 things. 1, my giving budget is X amount of dollars a month. Number 2, my rescue rule is whatever your rule you're going to choose. And 3, my cadence is I decide support on whatever day. Now you're not improvising, you're actually operating, right? And coming up in the final segment, here's what's going to happen next. We're going to deal with pushback. We're going to deal with guilt tactics. We're going to talk about repeat offenders and keeping relationships intact without folding. You're listening to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen.
Yeah. So they might as well wait to pay for
Welcome back to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen. We've been talking about in the first segment, we talked about how you possibly became the family CFO and what that meant and what that looked like. And I gave you a quick diagnostic and to understand and see, are you operating as the de facto family CFO? And in the previous segment, I gave you a 3-step rule to be able, a boundary operating system for you to set boundaries around some of these requests, actually, all of these requests. And now we're actually going to get into how do you deal with the conflict? How do you actually, because it's not always going to be easy. You're not going to have your decision rule. You're not going to say what your boundary is. And people are just going to be like, oh, they're going to accept it and be like, oh, okay, that's fine. I understand. That rarely happens. Doesn't happen. Because people don't like boundaries, right? Especially if you've been the person who they've been able to get what they want from on a regular basis to your detriment. Now, again, if you have the capacity to do it and it doesn't impact you, this may not necessarily be as meaningful for you. But maybe it is. Maybe you like to get better about that. Maybe you have the means, but you like to actually rein it in a little bit because it's getting out a little bit out of control. But now we're actually going to deal with the conflict. So let's be real. If you decide one day to stop being the family CFO, somebody is going to have feelings about it. Actually, they're going to have all the feelings about it. And that doesn't mean that you're in the wrong. It just means that the old system worked for them and it doesn't work for you. So now what we're going to talk about is the pushback playbook, right? So, first thing we want to do is actually normalize what is going on. When you set boundaries, people who've benefited from your lack of boundaries will test you. It is a human nature thing. They may not have any malintent behind it, but it's just something we do as humans. Think about little kids, right? The terrible twos with toddlers. That's exactly what's happening. They're pushing the boundary. It's not that they're having a conscious thought that they want to fight you, although sometimes I feel like sometimes they do. But their whole thing is they want to push the boundary, even though you've set a boundary. They want to see if they can negotiate to get what they actually want. So when we talk about this in as adults, people will say things like that to try you pull you back into the role that you've held for so long. That's their reliability, the role that you've played. Your job is not to win the argument. Your job is to stay consistent. And here are the most pushback lines and exactly the most common pushback lines and exactly what to say to them. So, once again, I'm going to give you this pushback playbook. So, pushback number 1: you've changed. And here's your response. Yes, I'm making changes to protect my finances, or I'm making changes to protect the financial stability of my family, or I'm making changes because I'm starting to see that I am really getting into a very financially sensitive situation. Any of those will do. Short, it's true, and you're done. Move on. And if the person persists, keep saying it. You just keep saying it. Keep saying, don't change a word. Just keep saying it. Pushback number 2. Must be nice, with a little hint of sarcasm and guilt and shame. Your response can be, I'm not discussing my income. What I can do is X amount of dollars, right? Never debate your earnings. That becomes entitlement fuel for the other person. Pushback number 3. So you don't care about family? Your response can be, I care. And my answer is still no. The line is powerful because it refuses the false choice, right? It's not a choice. It's not necessarily something that you don't have a choice in. And you're exercising the choice. They're just putting it to you as if it's not a choice. It's a default entitlement to that you should be helping them, supporting them. Pushback number 4. I'll pay you back. Your response can be, I'm not lending money right now. And the reason why you want to say I'm not lending money right now versus I'm not able to, because then that leads to the pushback that I just talked about. It opens the door for them to debate your income. And that's not what you want. You want to be able to shut the conversation down. Again, just keep repeating, I'm not lending money right now. No additional sentence is needed or required. They might want one, but you're not going to give them one. Pushback number 5. It's an emergency. Your response can be, I can help you think through options, but I can't provide cash. If it's truly a one time catastrophe and you choose to help, you can add, I can do X one time, X amount of dollars one time. But the key is one time and a specific amount. And you've got to hold yourself, even if you need to write it down. This person asked for me for this amount of money, and it was for this reason. I will not be giving more money for this specific reason at any more, right? Sometimes we need to write that note to ourselves to get it into our long-term memory to make sure that we actually have a higher likelihood of sticking to it. Pushback number 6. And this is anger, guilt, or the silent treatment. And they might not say anything. They just might be throwing a lot of side eye, a lot of attitude, and their response might be, your response can be, I understand you're upset. However, my decision is the same, right? And if the situation calls for, you might need to walk away, like physically walk away. I have had to do that. It feels very empowering. Do not buy your way out of their emotions. Your mood is not a mood stabilizer, right? Now, let's talk about our repeat offenders. And we all know who they are because this is where the people who are trying to make change, this is where you can get trapped, right? And that really comes up with having a repeat offender policy. If the same person has the same emergency repeatedly, you are not helping. You're actually maintaining a cycle between you and them, right? So it could be, same church, different pew. Like this month it's the cable bill, next month it's the phone bill, the month after that it's the water bill, the month after that it's the gas bill, the month after that it's a car payment. It's still the same behavior, it's just a different bill, right? But again, if you keep rescuing them, they keep thinking they can come back and get rescued. So here's a policy that protects both you and your finances and your sanity. It's called the 3 strikes policy. First time, resources plus a plan to help. Minimal amount of money, if money at all. The second time, smaller support or no support, plus a boundary reminder, right? And the third time, no money and only non financial support. You can literally say, I'm not able to keep funding this. I can help you set up a plan. Now, that does not mean now it is your responsibility to help them manage the plan. You're just transferring one bit of stress into another bit of stress. The idea of this is that we're trying to take things off your plate so you can now start to put time and attention to your financial stability, your wealth building, whatever that looks like for you. And because late rent every month is not actually an emergency, that's poor planning. That's a cash flow problem, a budgeting problem, an income problem. Are they living in a place that they can't afford? Or is it a choices problem? And that is theirs to solve. Now, again, you can help them figure it out. You can help them think through it. You can help them get resources. You can help them map a plan. But unless this person is a vulnerable adult or a child or someone who is literally not capable of doing something, and that's a different decision that you have to make. But somebody who's fully capable and is a grown ass person, this is where you want to start rethinking what your relationship is with them. Now, some of you are thinking, Elaine, but what if they're truly struggling? Okay, then you support them in ways that don't turn you into their financial infrastructure. Unless you're going to do that and it's going to be time bound. I've told the story in the first episode about my situation. I had a friend of mine. I moved to Las Vegas and he allowed me to move in with him and his girlfriend and her daughters. But we had a clear understanding. I was moving in for 6 months. I wasn't going to be paying rent, but I was going to be helping around the house. And if I got a job sooner than 6 months, because I didn't have a job waiting for me when I got there, that I was going to move out sooner. And let me tell you, when it was getting to be 6 months and I really hadn't found a professional job, I was working, but I hadn't found a professional job that was in my field. I went to my friend and I said, I want to move out in the 6 months that I promised you that I was going to move out, but here is my problem. I'm I need to borrow $1,200 so I can pay the first and last month rent of my apartment. I will pay you back within a year. I'm going to pay you $100 a month every single month until that $1,200 is paid off. He agreed. I moved out. I was out of there. It was like 6 months and a day. I had moved out of his place. I had moved into my apartment. And literally from that day forward, I paid him $100 a month until the loan was paid off. And it was really great because it maintained our relationship. And he later came to me and said, "You are the only person in my entire life that's ever paid me back." And that made me feel really, really proud. And it really made me feel good that our friendship wasn't damaged over money because we had known each other for, at that point, over 20 years. And I certainly didn't want $1,200 to come and break our relationship. So I say all this for you to support the outcome and not the habit. If you choose to help, consider support methods that preserve your dignity, that preserve their dignity and reduce misuse. This can be done by paying the vendor directly. I've done that with family members. I'm like, send me the information. I'll send a check directly to the vendor or give me your login for if it's an online payment. I will go in and I will make the payment, but I delete my credit card information or my checking account information, right? Or I Venmo directly to the source, whatever the case may be, is whether it's rent, utility, or some other kind of bill. Here's something else, provide groceries instead of cash. I've done this with family members. I've actually gotten them gift cards. I had a family member one time ask me, I think it was like $200, and I asked them what was it for? And they said it was for their car. I said, okay, I'm going to buy a gift card for the place that's closest to you to get your car repaired. And so that's what I did. Now, here's the funny thing, that really wasn't what they wanted because I bought them the gift card and they never used the gift card. So again, you're putting up a boundary of like, you said that this money was for X, then you're going to use it for X. And if they're trying to use it for something else, then they've got to figure that out. So also you want to offer a one-time help with setting up auto pay, a payment plan, or benefits. Here's another thing, connect with community resources, or you can offer job leads, childcare resources. Hey, come over and do some work on my house. I have some things that need to be cleaned up. I will pay you to do that. So anything that provides an alternative. And here's the tough truth. If you're always the solution, they're never going to build their own solution. Now, let's quickly talk about protecting your own household because this is where the buffer and the brick house actually really matter. So, the buffer and the brick house. Your household must come first, right? They say when you're on the airplane, put on your mask first before helping somebody else. The same goes here. If you are sending money while you have credit card debt, no emergency fund, no buffer, you're living one paycheck to paycheck and you're one paycheck away from stress, you are not being generous. You are actually contributing to your own financial fragility, right? Your buffer is what keeps you from being financially manipulated by actually any emergency, yours, much less anybody else's, right? Your brick house is what keeps you from being taken down by someone else's chaos, right? And your family may not understand your goals. And this isn't an opportunity to explain all your financial goals to them, but your goals are valid in any way, shape, or form. Now, how do you keep the relationship? And again, not everybody's going to be okay with this, right? But how can you keep the relationship without you folding? This is the key. Separating in your mind and in your heart love from money. Those are two separate things. And you can say it very plainly. I love you. I love you very much. And I want to know, I want to take care of what happens to you, but I will not provide you with money. Then pivot to what you can offer. I can offer you a brainstorming session. I can help you map out a plan because I'm a good strategizer. I can help you find some resources. I can check in on you weekly. What is it that I can do? I can give you some work around my house where you can earn some money because some people need cash, but some people actually need structure. And some people need you to stop enabling them. I know that's a hard one to hear. They need you to stop enabling them, right? And you're not abandoning them. You're actually just changing the terms, right? Your credit card company does that with you all the time. Now it's time for you to do that. Now, I want you to end with a clear 7-day action plan because boundaries without implementation is just happy quotes. And we're not going to do that. You know, I'm always going to leave you with an action plan. Now, your 7-day action plan is day one, pick your giving budget number, whatever that is, whatever the amount is. Day two, you're going to choose your rescue rule. Day three, you're going to save 2 scripts as text shortcuts on your phone. And some of those shortcuts could be support budget or no cosign. Day four, you're going to decide your cadence and you can say, I decide support on Sundays. Day five, you're going to practice saying your script out loud. Yes, out loud in the mirror, to your dog, to your cat, whatever. Day six, use the pause script the next time someone asks, I'll get back to, and you'll ask, I'll get back to you tomorrow. And then day seven, I want you to review. Did you follow your policy? Did you adjust your giving budget if needed? And here's your closing line and write it down if you need to. Okay. It's all right. You are not the family CFO. You are a person building a legacy for yourself and for your family. You can be loving and you can be boundaried, and that's okay. You can be generous and you can be financially stable. You can help without actually harming yourself. Okay. That actually is the point. So, thank you for listening and joining me. Check out some of our previous episodes. You can get a full list at AM 950, our radio partner. You can go to Do Different Better on YouTube, and you can listen to this wherever you find podcasts. So great to see you. And next time, I will see you where we talk about helping you do different better.